Hi Tangle friends, I'm Annie, and today I'd like to show you where I like to walk with my dog on a regular basis, because people ask me all the time, where do you get your inspiration for art? And if this can't do it, then I don't know what can. I love living in Estes Park, and I'm grateful for every day that my dog and I can be out here in nature and get inspired. After these walks, I feel like I can settle in and show you some new tangles. And today I'd like to show you, in our Lunchtime-Tangle series, a wonderful tangle called kringle. That's this one right here, kringle, and this one here. I love it. It's been one of my favorites for years. In fact, it's on my wall, my mural behind me here in my studio. It's part of my tree branch. It's really fun to morph this tangle that's more like a ribbon tangle, but you can morph it into different dimensions and sizes like this. So I kind of formed it, enlarging it here. Here it's more like a straight ribbon, which I'm going to teach because it's easiest that way. Then you can start experimenting with shapes, making it go around different shapes, like on my tree and here. So I thought today I would be colorful again. This is my step out, and I'm going to do it a little bit different just because I found a way to make it a little more even for me. Instead of using just one string line, we're going to use two so that we can get our little curves here lined up better. Anyway, this is kringle, and here are just some variations on the back. So today we're going to be working on a tile that is from Zentangle. It's a Phi tile. It's a really fun size. I'm going to try to make this just in one strip, and I can use it as a bookmark. For the background on this tile, I used a project from Ranger. It's called Distress Oxide, and I used these two colors. I can't remember if I actually showed you how to use them in my colored backgrounds tutorial. I'll go back and check, and if I haven't, I will do a tutorial on these because they're really fun. As you can see, once you hit them up with water, you get this really beautiful modeling in there. Today I decided to use a La Pen blue pen, and you can use black, you can use any blue pen. A Sakura has nice blue pens as well. I just thought this looked pretty much tone in tone. First we're going to get our pencil out. We do need a graphite pencil, and I am going to use a ruler just to make this pretty straight. My good old Noah ruler. I'm not even measuring, but I'm just eyeballing this to be about in the center, and I'm going to make two parallel lines. And then I'm going to make another set of parallel lines a little ways in. It's about, what, a quarter of an inch in. I'm not going to measure. I'm just going to go for it. But I don't even see this one anymore, so I'm going to make it darker. You can always erase. What's wonderful about these Distress inks, you can erase and they will not lift. Whereas if you're doing a watercolor background, the watercolor does lift if you have to erase off of it. So let me just get my step out in front of me so I can show you what I'm doing. We're going to start. This is going to be rather large, but that's okay. You can learn better if you see it well. We're going to just start by making some arcs. And I just did that wrong. I'm supposed to go from here to here, and we want them to be spaced such that we'll get sort of an even line up when we go to making our actual tangle pattern. So that's a variation. You can space them wide, further apart, space them closer together, depending on what you're trying, your space you're filling in. And you can just eyeball it. You don't have to make that second guideline. I just find it makes it for a little bit more regularity. I could have been curved a little more. Okay, so now we've got this. And now we're going to make little eyeballs. I think of these as almost like the eyes on a frog. So we're just going to go to the corner here and make a circle. These are nice large spheres, so they'll be really pretty to shade almost as gemstones or pearls. The next step is really a fun kind of Zen step. We are going to join these together with a curvy line. And it's always a little confusing at the top, so I'm going to go this way. And I'm using that as a guideline to where I want to head. Then we're going to start here about a third up and then bow out to the guideline and come back in around our little circle. Bow up. By having that line, you can see, even though my spacing is not even or perfect, it does give our arc here, our bow out, a very regular look. So up again about a third of the way, and then the final one would be here. I went quite a bit further up there than here, but you know, this is Zentangle and that's okay. No mistakes in Zentangle. So now we're just going to do an aura line, sort of, by starting at the circle top and driving around and auraing this line to make sort of a little woven band. Isn't that pretty? And we're going to do the same thing to this side. And then we're going to do one more aura line. Oh, we have to aura these as if we know where they're coming from, right? And then we're going to do one more aura line, and that's going to be across our arc. So I'm going to turn my paper for ease of my stroke, because I always like to pull towards myself. And I'm just going to do it about the same width as these. Oh, I forgot an aura line here. That's what happened there. Okay, that's okay. We'll figure something out there. Now comes the fun part. Now we have to decide what we're going to put in this space, and that's what's so wonderful and versatile about this tangle. On this one, in my step out, as you can see, I just did some lines and then I weighted them at the end to make them almost look like a flower. On here, I used henna drum. And let's see, did I do something different? Oh, here I used a little bit of like a daisy coming out of the corner. So you can do, also on your arc, you can do different things like striping and leave it plain. You can color it a different color. I think this one lends itself, since it's so wide, to a henna drum. And I'm going to try to mimic that arc. Here, 1, 2. And I'm going to color this one in. Since I don't have a lot of space, I'm not going to do a third arc. And I'm just going to do my little henna drum fan blades here, spaced all the way around that arc. And to make this a little bit more lively, we can just weight the lines in here. And then you can use an eyelash stroke and flick some hatch marks. Sort of giving it a self-shaded look. And I'm not done yet, but we might want to go back in and fill that in dark blue. I haven't decided yet, so let's just work some more. This pen is pretty thick pointed, meaning it's probably like a PN in the Sakura line or even a 03. Really have to have a light hand to make a fine flick with this pen. It's very, very thick. Okay, a couple more. So one reason it's nice to have that thick and thin line, because when it ends up like that, you don't know where are the petals actually divided. So this way we can really delineate the petal. Remember, to make this eyelash stroke, you put your pen down and you have some pressure there, and then you lift the pressure as you pull the pen up. And that gives it that little kind of hair look or eyelash look. Okay, yeah, I think we could go back in and fill in this negative space. At this point, you can take an eraser and clean up those lines. And I'm looking at this, and since it's rather large, I think it could stand to have an overall aura line out here. In fact, I might have a pen that's a little bit finer. This is a pretty fine aura. You could have a lot of fun and get your metallic jelly roll out and do like a silver accent there. Silver and blue is always so pretty together. And like I said, you could do something in here like stripes, but I like it like this because it's going to shade up nicely and give us a really pretty area to put some white highlights in there. Oh, and we have to shade. So I am going to shade in color, as I always do. When I'm working on color, I shade in color. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to choose my color. I've got my drawer here with some blues in it. And so this is how I choose my colors. I just take the tile and I go find those colors that seem to be very similar. Now the shading, you always want it to be a little darker, but sometimes it's nice to have the lighter color to put some highlights in. Let's see, so this one is a little bit darker than this one. That's Deco Blue. Yeah, they're both the same, so I don't need that. And then we're going to need one that's a little bit darker. This one's about the same, so I'm going to take that. And then we need something to shade, and that's about that color. So look, do you see how these colors are all in this tile? That's how I go and choose my colors. And I might have to come back to my drawer and adjust accordingly, but I think these are going to work really well. When we shade, we want to shade in this area that is underneath that curve. So I'm getting this out. Working so far, so good. You're going to always have to adjust according to what colors you have. You might want to layer it. This one is actually showing up better, so I'm going to use this here. Pressing a little harder here because it's much darker. On this one, I can probably get away with this here. Same as up here. The one thing you have to remember, always have a very sharp tip. So again, this is at the top of the pearl. This is lighter than this, so I can burnish it down. That is to blend it, to give it a little bit of a gradient with the darker color. So there's that. Now we'll do that on the other side as well. I'm going to probably layer that a little bit, just to get it the right tone. Take this blue, go on top. Working on this colored paper is really quite forgiving. You can, if you get the right colors, you can just add extra of one color in a spot that might need it. You can layer it up so nicely. It's just really forgiving. That's too dark, so I'm going to go with this one. See how that's just very subtle, and then I'm just going to go over the top of it with this little bit darker color. And blend it out. Go over that so we don't see it so much, huh? Maybe I can put some white jelly roll there and a highlight. So now we want to also emphasize that this is kind of woven down into here. So we're going to do the same thing on those little areas. Shade those. If you just have pencil, just use your graphite like that and blend it out with your tortillon. So you always just want to watch the color that you're going to be shading on and try to match that. And yes, you're going to have to change back and forth an awful lot. That one's dark. I'm going to take this one and just add a little bit. Okay, so there are those. And then once again, we have this band kind of weaving down under this. So we're going to do the same thing here. And now we just have our pearls. Now we have to decide what we want to do with them. And I think I'm going to go ahead and color them in white with a white colored pencil. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and use our darker blue and make that comma like I like to make. And sort of blend it. I'm going to blend it in a little bit with the lighter just to get some kind of a little bit of a gradation. So basically I'm blending or burnishing this darker with the lighter blue. And then we could even actually go back in with white and blend that to an even finer transition. Looks pretty good. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Back in with the white, and then we can also shade these henna drums somewhat. This one's sort of dark, so I'm going to start with the dark here. I always like to shade close to that center point and then add some lighter colors at the top. Sometimes just the general's white charcoal adds such a pretty contrast. I'm just going to stay with the dark on this one because it doesn't matter. It's in the tile, so the dark is good. You can always burnish it down with a little bit of the lighter color. So we've burnished before with our little blending solvent. We've burnished with a non-pigmented pencil, colorless pencil. And this is another way. When you blend your colors together, you burnish them with a lighter color, tone in tone. And that's what I'm doing here today. I'm not even going to get that solvent out because I used a Le Pen, and Le Pens are water soluble. So this would all bleed if I took a solvent to it. But look, it blends up very nicely. This could use the lighter. going for that gradient. Then you can take, I'm going to try first with the colored pencil, the white, and just flick some light edges in here, letting some of the paper show through, not all, not making it a really solid white. Works really well with this colored pencil. Just adds such a pretty highlight. And then with my white, I'm going to add some highlights on here. Just cleaning that up a little bit. Got a little thick. And I'm looking and seeing that I still could use some darker darks in certain areas, like here. I could probably even get a really dark blue pencil out for that. The more value change you have, the more stunning your piece. Value means our lights and our darks, right? And you could also add a little bit, just hit it up here, because it would be in highlight, this bowed out part. And then I'm going to get my jelly roll out and just add the accent to the pearls, and we will be done. There we go. Takes a little time to get these jelly rolls working. Subtle but bright, just brightens everything up. There you have it, Kringle in blue. How fun was that? Don't forget to sign or put your chop on and sign the back and date it. And remember that Kringle is by Ellen Wolters, or Wolters. I'm not sure if she is from Germany or not. Also, please do share your results with me on my Annie's Botangle alumni Facebook page. That would be lovely. I hope you have a great day, and thanks for joining me. Bye-bye. That's it for today's Tangle. Thanks for joining me. If you like these lunchtime tutorials, please give them a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I also invite you to check out my website for classes that I have scheduled, or to purchase my Tangle tags for your favorite step outs. That's botangle.net. I'm leaving you with some other links too. Zentangle.com, where you can learn more about the Zentangle method from its founders, Rick Roberts and Maria Thomas. You can also visit their store there for a multitude of Zentangle paper tiles, tools, books, and kits. Tanglepatterns.com is that site I talk about, where you can explore hundreds of tangle patterns, read about them, and get the step out, which is basically the deconstruction of the pattern. And finally, if you'd like to share your beautiful results with me and my student community, please join Annie's Botangle alumni Facebook page. We're a private group where we inspire each other with our work and offer tips and useful information about art and Zentangle.